Welcome to another episode of Culinary School Stories, the weekly podcast that is dedicated to sharing the stories of people around the globe whose lives have been influenced, impacted, touched, and or enriched, for good or for bad, from their culinary school experience. Hi, my name is Colin Roach, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. You are an important part of this show, where we ask the question, what's your culinary school story? So now, without any further delay, let's meet today's guest. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Culinary School Stories podcast, a proud member of the Food Media Network. And if you have not yet followed the show, please do so. It's free. We would love to have you as part of our community. You can subscribe or follow the show through your favorite podcast app, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or you can do it through our website at www.culinaryschoolstories.com, which is also where we share and store all of the podcast's past episodes and our guests' bios and contact information. So be sure to check out the website and sign up for our free monthly newsletter. So now, without any further delay, I would like to introduce today's guest, who is a native of Richmond, Michigan, where she graduated from the Culinary Institute of Michigan, specializing in baking and pastry. Now a resident of Florida, where she is the Executive Pastry Chef at the Bonita Bay Club. And during her free time, she loves to check out new restaurants, make craft cocktails, and go skydiving. These are just a few of the topics we're going to be getting to today. So with that said, it is my pleasure to introduce Chef Emilia Tomaszycki. Emilia, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Chef Colin. It's such an honor to be able to be on your podcast, on your show today. I'm so excited to be able to tell you a little about my life, my culinary journey, and how I got to be an executive pastry chef at 24 years old.
Wow. Awesome. It's a great things that you're going to be able to share, but let's start right at the beginning first, like all good stories. Where did your love of food come from? Where did you get that passion? Was it at an early age? Was it later on in life? Tell us about that.
Oh, I was definitely young. I've been in this industry for almost 10 years now. So I started out very, very young. I was probably 13 years old, maybe in junior high. One of my girlfriends in school said that she was going to be taking a cake decorating class at Michael's. At first it was Joanne Fabrics. And I was like, Mom, I kind of want to try this out. Like, it sounds like fun. It was just going to be another one of those, like, after school activities. And my mom grew up with 5 siblings. And my mom was like probably thinking, oh my gosh, another activity for this girl. Fine, we'll do it. So she reluctantly bought me that very first starter kit for Wilton cake decorating courses. Went to that first class and I'm like, I love this. I just learned how to make buttercream roses, pipe things, like just very, very simple basics, absolute basics. But I absolutely loved it. And in that first course, there are four classes once a week. I think it was Mondays. So week after week, 4 weeks, I completed those courses and I realized, I actually really love doing this. And I convinced my mom to let me go on to the second course. There are 4 courses total. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the second one was, I think that was advanced flours and buttercream techniques. Mm-hmm. So, included that course. And then my mom said, if you want to go on to the third course, you have to pay for it yourself. So I mustered up the money to pay. I think it was like $80 for that third and fourth course. I managed to complete myself. So, I finished all 4 courses and I realized I love doing this. I started doing some small cakes from home, but again, I had no idea really how to bake. They didn't teach you how to bake in this class. They only taught you how to decorate.
So it was just a decorating part?
Right. So it was just decorating with buttercream, a little bit of fondant, gum paste. And that's all I knew how to do. I would bake from boxes, cake mixes, and I did a graduation party of like 100 cupcakes. I'll bake from a box and then decorated that. And I think that was kind of like one of the initial launches for me at a young age. And I got my first job at 15 years old at a little cakery in my hometown, tiny little place. Like, we only got maybe a couple of customers per day, but I loved it.
So this was like 8th grade. So then did you go into high school with this passion, and did you take classes in high school? I know there's a lot of high school programs that have culinary and baking and pastry.
Unfortunately, no. My little private school that I went to did not have any sort of tech classes or home economics or anything like that, really. So I felt fortunate to be able to have this opportunity to work while going to high school. I drove my parents' little minivan that got me to and from, but I was able to work during high school, and I worked hard during high school. I would work two to three jobs. I would go in during my lunch hour during school to work at this cakery because I ended up being the head cake decorator after a month or two of working there because the head cake decorator quit. So I ended up being like a manager and the head cake decorator at 15, 16 years old.
Wow.
And I also realized as I was working there that this is what I want to do for a living, and this is what I want to go to college for. And I was the only girl in my class to know what she wanted to do, the only person in my grade to actually know what she wanted to go to college for. So by the time I was in like 10th grade, I knew what college I wanted to go to. It was like 40 minutes from my parents' house at the time, the Culinary Institute of Michigan. So junior year of high school, I was applied. I was ready. I was just, making sure my grades were up.
Wow.
Applied for all the scholarships.
So what, did you go visit the school? Did you visit other schools? How did you pick that one? Is it because of the convenience of being close? Or did they have recruiters come out?
Well, it was close. So that one was obviously on my radar, but I also looked into the Culinary Institute of America. I looked into there was a community college, Macomb Community College, that had a great baking program. There was like another couple colleges, but they were over an hour away from my parents' house. And during the winter in Michigan, you do not want to be driving more than 40 minutes without weather conditions. So my parents were more worried about that. So I ended up choosing the Culinary Institute of Michigan. I was very, very happy to be there. The instructions were all awesome. The programs were great, and I loved being able to be close to my parents, be close to family.
Did you know anyone that was already going there that you spoke to about, or anyone that recommended it, or did you go visit it? Did you take a tour?
I took a couple tours. They had a couple open houses, and since I already knew that I wanted to go there, I was making sure that I was signing up for all of them, just making sure I kind of dug my feet into the ground, got to see what it really is really about. And at one of the open houses, it was like the last open house, or it was orientation before our first big day. I ran into one of my girlfriends, Aria Schranzak, now Aria Birch. She was going to be in the culinary program, and I found out that I actually worked with her dad at Jet's Pizza. And we always used to call him Grandpa because funny stories, won't go into that. But her and I connected instantly. We became, really good friends off the bat. And I was just in her wedding recently.
Wow. Now, at culinary school, was there residency there? Or no, you commuted?
There was residency there, but you had to live over a certain mileage away and
to qualify. Didn't
qualify. I thought it would be fun, and I did hang out with a lot of people from the dorms often, but I didn't reside there. I wish, but it just wasn't logical.
Sure. So tell me about that first day then, because you're excited. You've been planning it since you were a junior in high school, but there has to be some nervousness there, just like anything, anticipation. So when you arrived on campus that first day, why don't you take the audience through that? What happened? You got equipment, you got uniforms, did you have your first class? Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, I remember it pretty well, and I just had a Facebook memory pop up. Pretty embarrassing because we had to wear the toques, and we had to wear neckerchiefs. Mm-hmm. And no one is expected to know how to wear these things before you go in. A lot of us tried to. And I had taken a picture. My mom had taken a picture of me before I went off to college first day. And I had my toque on sideways. I had my neckerchief wrapped in such a strange way. And it was so cringeworthy that looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Why didn't I just wait till I got to college? So, you totally made a fool of yourself the very first day. Just trying to make yourself look.
The wrong way to wear the uniform.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Now, did you have to put the neckerchief into a knot, or was it that they have a slide for it, or how did that work?
There was a slide, and they showed you how to fold it, but like it was a very certain way to fold it. You had to, so it was like big square. You have to fold it in half, like, so it's like a triangle, and you have to like slowly fold it and then fold in the ends and keep folding it, and then perfectly wrap it around your neck and then slide that thing up the two ends. It was a struggle for most people. Even in our second years there, we were still struggling. Some of us were.
Yeah, because if it's too loose, the slide's going to come right off too, right? Land in the soup.
And it would just look sloppy. Like you wanted it to look decent, and it was a real skill to make that look perfect, especially if you were getting pictures taken or you were doing a competition. Some people still would ask for help to have their neckerchiefs done.
So then they give you a knife kit at the tools, pastry stuff at the beginning there? You
have to purchase all of your own tools. Okay. There was a big orangish reddish pastry toolkit that all the baking people had to buy. And that thing was a good like $600-700. And, some people coming from like lower income families, they couldn't afford that right off the bat. So not everyone had theirs, or you cannot show up to the culinary school without your uniform, your full uniform, meaning your neckerchief, your hat. You had to wear your checkered pants, your chef coat, your neckerchief, non-slip shoes, black socks. Like they were very, very strict about it. And couldn't have colored hair. You couldn't have your nails done or anything. Like they were very, very, very strict about it, which is a good thing because, you can't just show up to any workplace. They're, trying to prepare you for the real world. So
I know many of the schools do a lineup too before class. And if you're not in the proper uniform, they dismiss you until you can go get yourself ready. Is that the case with you?
For sure. Oh yeah. If you did not have your full uniform, you had to ask like one of your fellow classmates, or you had to go home and get your uniform. And if you weren't there 10 minutes before a class, you were marked, you lost points for the day just for being 10 minutes. You weren't there 10 minutes early. So if class started at 7 a.m., you better be there at 6:40, get your locker, put your stuff in your locker, and be in the classroom set up and waiting by 6:50. Otherwise, you're late.
That's good. So what was your first class, and what was your classmates like? Were they all right out of high school? Was there career changers, older students, military returnees? Tell us a little bit about the demographics and male, female, and what that first class was.
I definitely remember my first class was probably 75% coming right from high school. There were a couple ladies and gentlemen who were mothers, but they wanted to get back into the industry. They just wanted to learn how to bake and maybe make some sort of job out of it. Okay. Or there were military men who, were looking to start a new life again. I remember one or two military men. But yeah, the majority were high school. Okay. And they said that by the time we graduate, only maybe like 25% of your class would be left. And it was true. Like, it's not an easy industry to be working in, especially if you are expected to stand 8 hours in a classroom, in a kitchen. Like, that's just the very basics. So people kind of weeded themselves out left and right, just naturally, like organically. If you didn't like to be standing in a kitchen, if you didn't like to be doing this, if you were interested in doing culinary math, then, you figured it out yourself. But our first class, before you could even enter the kitchen, our first semester consisted of food safety. What else? Food safety for sure, because you have to take your serve safe before you get enter the kitchen. Right.
Probably some fundamental type class, right? Like how to use the tools or how to, work at a commercial kitchen.
Yeah. So your serve safe, like just in like not even the kitchen, you had to be in a separate classroom with desks and everything. And then you would take whatever your general education classes, like your math, your speech class, your computer classes, whatever other classes you have to take to get your degree. But I remember taking that serve safe test, and if you don't pass it, you can't carry on. Well, unfortunately, I did not pass it the first time. You had to get like a 75 or 76%, and I got a 75%. I missed it by 1%. And I was so heartbroken. I was like, man, thinking right here, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this the industry I'm supposed to be in. If it's going to be this difficult, like why continue? Like if I can't even pass this first class, maybe it's a sign. But I'm not a quitter. I'm pretty stubborn, and I'm very grateful for it sometimes. And I took the test again a couple weeks later, and I passed it, thankfully.
Did a lot of students struggle with that test, or was most people passed it, or how was that?
I think probably about 20% failed, 25%. Okay. So it was a significant test. Like you either knew the answer, or you didn't. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to food safety in the classroom, like there's no oopsies. Like if you undercook something, or if you drop something, or contaminate, cross-contaminate, you could kill someone. There's no, oh, oops, I forgot that small detail, because that's going to end someone's life possibly.
And that's a certification test, so it's not even by the school, right? It's kind of sent out into a national organization.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yep.
Good. So what was the first lab when you finally got through these other fundamental type classes that you got to really study some of the major that you were there for?
The first class I had in the kitchen was Baking 101, and it was making quick breads. We did cookies, rolls, muffins. We did some vegan recipes. Trying to think. We worked with pastry, puff pastry, croissant, lamination, which was a lot of fun. I remember we made this huge croquembouche. We learned how to make pâte à choux. Mm-hmm. So cream puffs, eclairs, and we made this gigantic, like good 3-4 feet tall croquembouche. So everyone in their class took all the cream puffs they had made throughout that class. We all filled them and then stuck them on this huge cone. It was rewarding. I can't remember if we finished it, because I don't even think we had enough cream puffs. Wow.
Finish it, right.
Thinking back to that, wow, that's a memory I hadn't thought about in a while.
Now, you had experience from the classes and from working in the industry before you went to school. Did you find that was the norm? And is that needed? If someone was listening and they didn't have experience, is that a deal breaker, or no?
Ooh, well, I had no baking experience. Going back to when I was taking those wilting cake decorating courses, I had mentioned they didn't teach us how to bake. And my mom didn't do a lot of scratch baking. Like she didn't do really much baking at all, except for like a couple cooking things here and there. But she always made cakes and things from a cake mix, also from the box, Ben Crocker. So starting baking and pastry school, I had no baking experience whatsoever. I could decorate you a cake. I can make you fondant flowers. I can make buttercream for you. But when it comes to baking, I had no idea. And a lot of the other people in the class had either played around with baking, or they had gone to tech school, or whatever kind of other classes. But I definitely felt like the oddball in that kitchen, because I had no idea how to bake. So I clung to my my buddy in class, and her and I would work together, and I would measure things out left and right. But I leaned on her too much during the first semester or two, or the second semester or two in the kitchen. And when it came time for the exams, I kind of freaked out, because I was so scared to bake. I was scared to burn things. I was so unsure of what to do. Could barely follow a recipe. When my buddy had also been to tech school, like everyone else had been in tech school, so they would kind of have the feel of a kitchen. I had no idea what it was like to work in a kitchen like that. So I struggled. I did struggle for a little bit, and I passed those first 2 exams, but it took a long time for me to actually work on new recipes outside of class.
And that was just your own insecurities because everyone else had that experience, so you just kind of did the measuring and took a back seat, or what was, do you think, the cause of that?
I don't really know. I mean, unless I feel confident doing something, I do usually take a back seat. And during classes, I was kind of just having fun, and I did whatever my teammate wanted to do, and bit me in the butt in the long run. Not coming up with my own decisions, not like giving enough advice or suggestions, not failing enough.
Yeah.
Which is what culinary school is about. You wanna learn, but you also want to fail early on so that you can grow in the future.
Sure, that's the place to make those mistakes, because that's
Right.
where you're learning, right? Not out in the industry when someone's paying you. So,
And I was too scared to burn because I guess I have a lot of pride too. So I was scared to like try new things that would fail because we were all in one big classroom and everyone would see if you messed something up or if you burnt something or if you boiled over cream or whatever. So I think it might have been like a small pride type thing too.
So what would you say to someone that's listening to do that? Like, hey, get in there and get your hands dirty right away and take charge. And it's a short amount of time and you're going to be out in the industry. So you're paying a lot of money. Get in there. Or what would you tell them so they don't go that path like you did?
Don't be afraid to fail. Think of all like the chefs that you look up to. Think about how many times they have failed to get where they're at. Like no one is perfect, and you only learn from failing and learning what not to do. So don't be afraid to take on a bigger project or taking on new responsibilities or all of it. Don't be afraid to burn.
Yeah. Where did you see that transition, though, from that, first couple classes where you were kind of taking a back seat, and then at some point you must have, flourished and blossomed and said, no, I'm really going to grasp this now and take charge?
Well, it was when we started doing cakes. We started learning how to decorate cakes. We learned how to bake cakes. So that was kind of a zone that I was more comfortable with. Once we learned baking 101, we, learned how to do cakes and then learn how to make different buttercreams, and we learned how to stack cakes and make wedding cakes and all that. And I kind of felt like I was back more in my comfort zone. So I had a little more confidence to show my true colors. And all of a sudden people could see like, oh, she knows how to decorate a cake. Oh, she knows how to write with buttercream. Oh, she has like almost perfect piping skills. Who is she? How do we know her?
So now the roles were kind of changing, right?
Yes.
Now they were like, whoa,
yeah.
you were the leader.
So that's kind of where I got my confidence again. And then from those classes, we went on to chocolate sculptures and sugar work and bonbons and truffles, so all the confections and things. And I loved doing chocolate sculptures because it wasn't necessarily baking. It was just more figuring out temperatures and crystallization process of chocolate and being really creative. Like everyone just had to really show how creative they were. So it wasn't all like technicalities really. It was just more having fun playing with sugar.
Did you have any instructors there that, you're like a mentor that you stood out from the others, or any of them you want to give a shout out to that really, helped you in your early part in your career?
Oh, Chef Carly, Chef Scott Twitchell, Chef Paula Resinella, Chef Tom Resinella. Those were all my baking teachers, and then the deans of the school. And they really helped me to channel my passion into a career. And I still go back to my culinary school. Whenever I go back, I say hello to them.
Oh yeah, you go back and you visit, you check in, and
I try to at least once a year. I'll go to their student restaurant and I'll say hello. I'll bring with my family or friend. I'll grab some of my other classmates that I still hang out with, Aria, because she's up there still. And yeah, I still go back once in a while and say hello to them.
Do they ever have you talk to the classes, the current students? Give them a little...
Oh, gosh, no.
Talk. They don't want you talking to them?
Oh, gosh. It's like Emilia, stay outside. But don't... You can look at them, but don't talk to them.
Don't listen to her.
Yeah, no. I'm sure she'll come up with some sort of crap to say. Oh, gosh.
So, looking back now, obviously with experience and in your position and stuff, what do you wish you had known before you got to culinary school or during culinary school that would have, would you have changed something along the way?
What I wish I would have known when starting culinary school was pretty much what I've already stated is it's okay to fail. It's okay to mess up. And lower your ego, Emilia. Like, I really wish I could take my younger self by the shoulders and be like, get over yourself, lower your ego, and mess up. Please try that new recipe that everyone was talking about. They were all too busy to try, or please try making a cheesecake and mastering cheesecakes or creme brulees or anything that was kind of custards. I was scared about custards, especially baked custards, because we didn't work on that. But I would definitely, I wish I would have known just to not be so scared, not be so timid.
You think that's all ego, or you think some of it could be, is there grades that influence that? Like if afraid to fail, you don't want to get Fs and you don't want to get kept back or trying to get those As, or is there pressure from the, academic side?
I mean, I never was an A+ student, so I feel like maybe I wasn't really a type to go out partying a lot either. So I wasn't like, just being tired. It might have been working while being in college. Like they say you should either go to college or work, or you shouldn't do both because you won't be able to really focus on one or the other. And maybe it was working a lot and driving back and forth a lot, or.
And a lot of schools do have support departments, tutoring and help and things like that. Is that something the school offered? Is that something you took advantage of, or was it a resource that students used?
Let's see. There were tutors, but not really for the kitchen. It was like a one and done type thing. If you fail that class, you have to retake it. But for the college was part of like a community college, like a local community college, and a lot of our general education classes were at the main campus. So you could go there after school and go get help from the financial aid people or whatever tutors, or you can go to the library and ask anyone for help. So that was very, very helpful. Some of us baking students would get together and go over like technical baking definitions, because we would have like some like written exams too for baking. Mm-hmm. So we would definitely study together, and it helped just having that like initial group that I graduated with. Just thinking back, there were probably like 10 of us that would hang out and make sure we got to the end point all together once we knew we were in it for the long run.
Right. You said a lot didn't make it, and that was like a statistic that they had. Why did they not make it? Is it just because the time constraints, the level of academics and the rigor? Was it money? What was it that caused, do you think, a lot of them not to finish?
Well, a lot of people say they want to bake, they want to cook, because it seems like it'd be fun. But if you're making a career out of it, this isn't always a fun type industry. Like once you had to pass a couple of tests before you even enter the kitchen. So a couple of people in their first semester are like, I don't really want to do this. Like if it's going to be all this technical stuff, like I don't really want to go there.
Right.
And then once they saw like
usually the first time they clean a lab too, that'll spark something.
Oh yeah,
the dishes and the floors.
And knife skills. Like our first classes, like in the Savory kitchens, they had to do knife skills, and a lot of people cut themselves. I mean, it's expected. Like when you don't know how to handle a knife, I had to segment an orange for the first time. Like I had barely even used a knife. Honestly, I think I had picked up a knife maybe a couple times, like an actual chef's knife. I had maybe picked up a chef's knife 5 times in my entire lifetime before I even went to college. So yeah, a lot of us cut themselves. And that might have been discouraging to them. Or they just had financial reasons, or they just had other life predicaments, or they took off summer in college and realized, yeah, actually, this is not what I want to do.
Right.
Natural, I feel like there's more organic reasons, because I enjoyed the program.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause right now and ask you, the listener of this episode, to sign up for our newsletter and mailing list. I left a link in the description, or maybe even easier, just to go to www.chefroach.com/contact. That's chefroach, all one word, .com/contact. Then just go to the bottom of the page and sign up for our newsletter. It's free. Then once you're signed up, you'll never miss out on our latest news, announcements, episodes, contests, course information, or exclusive deals. So go ahead, sign up so you can get all of the information and more through the periodic email updates. And don't worry, you can always unsubscribe if you don't like it. The link again is www.chefroach.com/contact. So go ahead, do it now. We want you to be part of our community. And if you don't do it now, you'll probably just forget by the time this episode is over. So just hit the pause button right now and take the 15 to 20 seconds to get it done, and then come back and hit play. We'll wait for you, I promise. Okay, hopefully you just did it, or you've already done it in the past, or at the very least, you'll be doing it very soon. Your support of the show and the network is very important to us, and we thank you in advance. Alrighty, so now back to the show. Yeah, well, Now you're an executive pastry chef, at Bonita Bay. Tell us how you got there, because it was a pretty short journey from graduating culinary school to where you are now. Maybe you can give us the short version of how that path took you and you ended up in the job you're in now in Florida.
Ooh, okay. Quick story or quick version. So I had to take an internship in culinary school. I finished that internship, and while I was at that workplace, they had mentioned that, hey, there's a country club down in Florida that is hiring for a pastry chef or pastry cook, pastry intern type deal. But you wouldn't be a student anymore. You'd be just, working as a pastry cook. And I was like, okay, what are the details? So they gave me the details, it was like free housing for the first 6 months for the first season. And I didn't have anything holding me back. So I'm like, okay, sure. Told my parents, Mom, Dad, I'm moving to Florida for 6 months. They're like, absolutely not. And I was like, I think this is like a big girl decision that I made and you can't really stop me. So I'm going. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Well, it's a good place they could visit, right? During the winters up there in Michigan.
Oh, exactly. And they absolutely loved visiting me. So it turned out, it worked out in the end. But so I moved down here. The day that I moved down here, the executive chef had invited me over to the club for dinner with my mom and I over to the club for dinner. And he's like, so just letting you know right now, our other pastry chef or our other pastry cook that was working here quit a couple days ago. So now you're the pastry chef. I'm like, you told me this after I moved down. So a little bit salty right off the bat, but I was really able to see what I could do, what talent I had. I was able to, try new recipes, burn, which I did. You can definitely smell it coming from my bake shop. But I had an entire bake shop all to myself when I was 21. Was I 21 at the time?
Wow.
20. I think I was 20 years old at the time. No, it was 21. Sorry. But the club was a 900 member club. And I surprised myself. I surprised everyone around me. I surprised myself. I had no idea what I was capable of. I was doing cakes every week. I was doing these beautiful buffet desserts. I was doing chocolates, bonbons, and plated desserts. My plated desserts sucked at the time. I'm sorry, raw truth. They sucked. It took a long time for me to perfect, not even perfect, just get better at plated desserts. But my buffet desserts were on point. And that's kind of what I realized what I was good at. So I finished up my 6 months there and moved back up to Michigan for a couple months, worked at another country club. And then I realized I wanted to kind of hone in and work on more details in pastry. So I'm like, okay, where can I go to work on refining my skills? I went to the Ritz Carlton Dallas. So they are more detail oriented. I was there for a year and a half. Had an accident with my ankle. I moved back up to Michigan and I ended up at the Ritz Carlton Naples, where that's a huge workplace. And they're even more detail oriented than the Ritz Carlton Dallas. I ended up doing all their wedding cakes at the Ritz Carlton Naples. So 95% of the wedding cakes there. So I was able to refine my wedding cake skills. I was able to refine my plated dessert skills, my buffet desserts. I even gambled around in more chocolate sculptures, which I was not good at. I hadn't really done since culinary school. I was a pastry supervisor there, so I learned how to manage my time better, also delegate a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So by the time I was 22, 23, I was a pastry supervisor, and it's just all of a sudden I ended up as executive pastry chef at this country club. And
wow,
I never said no. Whenever these opportunities were introduced to me, showcased to me, I never said no, because I told myself, I don't know what I'm capable of. After working at that first country club down here, I realized I don't actually know what I'm capable of. So stop saying no until you know what you're capable of. So I said yes to every opportunity, and I kind of just let the ball roll, and I just follow it wherever it takes me.
And you didn't really have a choice that first job, right? Because there was nobody else. You had to do it, or
Exactly. I mean, I could have just said no, got back in my car and drove back up north to Michigan because I was scared. I had never really lived any other state, and moving across the country, that was a big thing for me. So I was terrified. But I kept telling myself, you know what, if things don't go right, you pack up your car, you move. So for anyone who's scared to like get out or travel or move anywhere in your industry, if something goes wrong, what's stopping you from leaving? Everyone's replaceable.
and many times you need to leave to grow, right?
Exactly. Which is what I left after 6 months. They invited me back for another season, but I declined, and I realized I still don't want to be the pastry chef because I was going to be the pastry chef, and I could have hired a pastry intern, another pastry cook, and actually developed that pastry department. But I said no, I was not ready to have those responsibilities at 21 years old. Thankfully, I did. I was very smart. I would not have wanted to guide another student around my same age. I didn't feel ready.
Yeah.
So I kept learning, working under really, really talented chefs, pastry chefs. And here I am now. I still say yes.
Now, those skills that you need, like for an executive pastry chef, are those things you could learn, or did you learn in school, like human resources, costing, or is that something more you learn on the job and from mentors and from supervisors?
Oh, that's definitely something you learn on the job. What I learned in baking and pastry school, like pretty much coming from my internship and then going to that country club, I said no because I didn't feel like I was ready, and I was not ready. Like I maybe could have done it with a lot of help, but what you learn in culinary school is just the basics of what you need to know.
And then you go out there and you perfect it when you're out in the job, and you get someone to kind of guide you through it in their systems.
Yeah, it's just experience. Like you have to go from place to place and ask questions, make mistakes, and learn along the way.
Awesome. Now let's jump to skydiving. See how I did that? Jump. you skydive. I mean, that. Some people might say that's crazy. So when did you start doing that, and what does that bring to you besides maybe your heart racing?
Adrenaline. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I love being spontaneous and doing crazy things, especially when I'm stressed. I just need to like let out all my energy. And I think I get it more from my dad because my dad used to skydive a lot when he was younger. Oh. And I have the energy and craziness that my dad has. So I'm definitely sure I get it from him.
How many times have you jumped? Did you start in Michigan or did you start in Florida?
I started in Michigan. I've only jumped a couple times. Like it's nothing big that I can brag about, but I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane. I mean, saying that sounds absolutely insane. Not many people can say that, but it's a good way to let out any sort of like negative energy or just energy you need to let go of. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I did it once with a group, and I was supposed to have a couple friends come with me, but they bailed. And then that one friend from the group bailed also. So I just went with a group of strangers. I had no idea what these people were. I'm like, cool, I'm going to go jump out of an airplane with complete strangers. Mom, dad, family, I love you guys. If you don't see me again, you know why. Scoop up my remains off the ground. I did. It was the best feeling. I'm like, I'm definitely going to go again. The next time I went was actually indoor skydiving. Oh. And I had always wanted to try both just to see what they were like, and they're not the same. You feel like you're floating-ish when you're indoor skydiving, but it's not. It's just not the same. Yeah. Like you don't have the same visual.
You're not as high.
Yeah.
Right. Too. Yeah. Yeah. You don't see the little specks of houses down there.
Yeah. No, you don't have that adrenaline of just stepping out of the plane.
Yeah.
Like there's not thousands of feet below you, and you're just looking at the ground. You're just in a tunnel. So you don't get that same adrenaline, but it was still so much fun.
Yeah. So now that you're the executive pastry chef, and you're at a point in your career now, looking back, who was an influence to you? Can you name 1, 2, 3 that influenced you either personally or professionally that, and why, and share with the listeners who those people might be?
Well, every chef that I worked for was either in the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, or they were just some incredibly talented chefs. So I always looked up to my bosses or other pastry chefs around. And so many people, like I'm trying to think of like just a couple like names, but I'm thinking so many people, family, friends that pushed me, inspired me. But chefs that I would look up to would be like Susan Nodder, Mario Gachon. I'm thinking so many people.
So you mentioned the American Culinary Federation, the ACF. Why is that important to a new chef? If someone's listening out there, why is that important to you? What do you get out of the organization? And, what has it brought to you personally, professionally, career-wise?
The ACF, it creates personal goals for chefs who may not be challenged every day to like achieve certain goals. Like some chefs want to have their own restaurant, some chefs want to have their own bakery. But if you don't have any of those like specific type of goals, the ACF creates a ladder for pastry. It's certified pastry culinarian, certified working pastry chef, certified executive pastry chef, and then certified master chef. So right out of culinary school, I got my certified pastry culinarian, and I kept seeing other people testing for these different certifications. And I realized one day I want to be a certified master pastry chef. So it's slowly climbing that ladder.
Do you belong to a local chapter, and what do you get out of that chapter? Do you guys do professional development?
Right now, I'm part of the Southwest Florida chapter, the Naples chapter, and they actually have a very large chapter. They have like a good 200 plus members, I believe. Oh, wow. And there are a lot of very talented chefs. And that's what I love about being part of the ACF is just when you meet up with these other chefs, you get to talk about how was your week? How many are you doing right now? Like, what are your specials? Or going to the ACF national conventions. I love going to the conventions, being a part of the conventions, because you gather with chefs from all over the country, even internationally. Some chefs come over for this big convention, and you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of such talented individuals. And it's just mind-boggling to think how much we could do with the talent that we have in this one very large room right now. So the ACF kind of gives me that inspiration, that motivation, that passion, that drive that a chef needs.
Yeah. So it can, as you mentioned, help your career. You get these certifications. It can help you with employment. Do you need certification? And let's look at culinary school too. Do you think someone needs a culinary degree to be successful, or does it make it easier, or is it more hard? Can you speak to those two?
That's a very good question. A lot of people will ask me, so they see that I'm, very into the ACF and very involved. And they ask me like, well, what does it do for you? Like, why should I get this? I'm working in a restaurant, and I mean, you're a line cook or you're just a banquet cook, and they ask, why do I need that? What makes that special? What makes me need that? I feel like it right now it's more channeled for chefs in country clubs, some hotels, but some individual workplaces will create motivations and goals. So some people may not feel the need to join the ACF if they already have other things going on, if they already have personal life goals that they're on their way to.
So looking back at culinary school, all the money, the time, that homework, those cutting yourself, was it worth it? Would you do it again? And if you would you change anything?
Oh, yeah. If I went back to culinary school, I probably wouldn't burn myself as much. Oh my gosh, we would compare burns some days. And I had like matching scars all of my arms, on my hands everywhere, just from like reaching in out of the oven to grab things. You learn pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Be careful. There's a hot rack above your arm, so don't move your arm, or don't touch that hot plate. But if I went back, I would. You're paying to be there, so you're paying to try new things. I would try every single recipe. I would try so many new things, and you have all of the supplies right there. Mm-hmm. So I would, refine probably my chocolate sculpture skills. I might try sugar work again because I was not a fan of it. I guess I had princess hands back then, like very, very soft, sensitive hands. And after working 10 years in the industry, you kind of build up calluses. So I might go back to sugar work to try that again. Hopefully my hands won't be burnt off.
But was it worth it? Was it worth it for the money? Was the return on investment you and going to?
Oh yeah, I definitely got most out of my culinary degree for the most part. I wish I would have not been so scared at first. But if I hadn't started in culinary school, if I had just started at a restaurant, I would not have made it. That's for sure.
Culinary school kind of set the foundation, the groundwork for you then.
Exactly, the baking 101. Like they give you a structure to go off of, and then you learn from there.
Okay, so great. So now that you've been in culinary school, you've been in the industry for a while now. What's it like out there? And as a female, as someone that's young and a female, what's it like in the industry? Can you speak to that?
Being a female in this industry is so far from easy. Like even to this day, I'm questioning my general knowledge. I'm doubted often. But I remember one of my first kitchen jobs, kind of a sensitive topic. I want to talk about it because it is very, very important. Mm-hmm. But one of my first jobs, I was at a country club and very, very naive, didn't know a lot. I was not respected because I barely know how to bake. I was still in culinary school at the time too. So I had very, very little knowledge. So scared to burn, scared to try new things. And one day it was after service and I went up to the chef at the time and I was going to offer him one of the, a piece of filet of some sort. And because it's been a long day, we're all exhausted. We've all been there 12 hours. And I was just genuinely being nice, asking the chef if he would like, piece of steak. And he took it out of my hand while everyone was watching in the kitchen, took it out of my hand, slapped it in my face.
Wow.
Slapped it directly in my face while everyone was watching. I remember stopping and I was like, did that seriously just happen? So I was supposed to carry on with desserts. We had just finished a plate up and I was supposed to go plate my desserts. And I stopped and I told him, you're doing desserts tonight. I'm gone. So he's like, no, you're doing desserts tonight. You will not do that to me. So I stormed out of the kitchen and went up to the dorm that I was staying at the time and locked my door, said goodnight, done. The executive, that chef came back and was, not banging on my door, apologizing, trying to get me to come back. And I'm like, I am not going to be treated like that. I might be the only female in this kitchen, and I might be the youngest one in this kitchen. I was 19 at the time. But I will not be treated like that.
What did he do it for? Was he trying to make a joke or was he mad or angry at something? And what was his...
He was making a joke.
Oh.
He was trying to be funny. He was trying to show off, be a big shot in front of all other chefs in the kitchen. So that was a big eye-opener to being a female in the kitchen. Have
you had any other examples of harassment or anyone because of your age or because of your gender?
Oh, yeah. Kind of try to block out everything that happens just because it happened and you can't go back to it. But I've had chefs make horrible, sexual harassment comments that you stop and it's like, you just asked me that. And when you're working in smaller places, small restaurants where there's not human resources or anything like that, you kind of just try to brush it off and you say, hey, don't do that, or just let it go. But these chefs seem to think that it's okay to do what they please, and they're the chefs in the kitchen, so it's fine. There are very few workplaces that I've been where I felt safe and I knew that as a female, as a woman in the kitchen, I would be protected. There was another workplace where I had the chef approach me several times about things and I would tell him no, please back off, wouldn't take no for an answer, was consistently harassing. But I knew how close he was to the general manager, or I knew that if I tried to fight this or if I tried to bring it up, it wouldn't be to my benefit. So I would let it slide. But as the years went on, I kind of realized if I stand up, maybe it'll give other women the confidence to stand up. And there was another time where I had been shamed for trying to take better care of my health. And I was told that I was nothing but a body in the kitchen. Like, you can't tell a woman that. Dude, you can't tell anyone that. But to tell a woman in the kitchen that you are just a body, I stopped and I went down to HR with that, even though I knew it would have its repercussions. It did. I was not talked to for a while after that. But it standing up, getting that confidence and building up that confidence to stand up for yourself gives others the confidence. These are just a couple stories. Like, I'm starting to like really think back. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but there was a circumstance where I was harassed, and I, went to management about it, and I told them, hey, this person is doing this. Well, I found out that this person had harassed this person. This person had harassed this other female. This person had harassed this female. And all of a sudden I had a bunch of ladies backing me up. I'm like, oh, wow. It just took me one time standing up.
Right.
So
it's like a sexual harassment from the males to the females, and he just kept doing it over and over.
Males and females. Yep. But sadly, a lot of places are more male dominant, have more males in the kitchen, unless you're working like specifically pastry. But if you're working with mostly males, like, you are already looked down upon just as being the only female. That could intimidate people to, want to joke around or, try to belittle you, but no.
Do you think because of gender, you would get passed over for positions or promotions or pay or?
No.
So it's all about equal. You do the work, you get the promotion, you get it. It has nothing to do with male, female.
Yes. And, it is sad to think, I have people will talk whether you give them information or not. I've definitely realized that the past 10 years, people will talk whether you give them information or not. If you are a dominating, confident, talented woman in the kitchen, people seem to think that you have to do something to get promotion, to get recognized. And it's all too common for people to think that a female will sleep with her boss to get a promotion. Like, I feel like it's any kind of workplace, but especially in the culinary and working in a kitchen, it's more common for people to think that you sleep with your boss to get to your position. And that's another like huge battle I've had to fight silently because, people talk whether you want them to or not. And
they think that's how you got, they assume they must have done that to get to where they're at, not based on skill or.
So many workplaces. Yep. Just because I have talent and I'm smart with my actions, then they think that I did something simple to get where I'm at. Sad. It is sad with this industry that women work in right now.
So if there was a young female listening now, just starting to go into this industry, and something happened to her like this, whether it was, sexual harassment, whatever, what advice would you tell her? What would you tell her to do?
Don't be afraid to stand up. I know your job might be on the line. You may feel like your job is on the line, but in most cases, the manager or your boss would be fired first, hopefully. And if they're not, and if you're fired first, that should give you a clear sign that I'm not meant to work here. Even if it is a prestigious place, like some crazy restaurant, some like well-known restaurant in Chicago. Let's say it's wherever. If your boss isn't fired first, then that's not a healthy work environment for you to be in. So stand up for yourself, because if you stand up for yourself, who knows, you might have a whole army behind you to back you up. If not, then move on. You deserve to be in a safer, healthier, happier place.
Right. And today it seems to be better and better the more people you talk to than it was years ago. So, now's the time too. Too bad it wasn't before as well, but
right.
Say something, talk to somebody about it so they can put a stop to it. Because as you mentioned, if it's doing it to you, it's probably happening to others as well.
Oh, for sure.
So what's next for you? Where are you going to go next? Where do you see yourself next year, 5 years, 10 years? What's your plans? What's your goals?
Man, oh gosh. I kind of almost stopped trying to plan my life because every time I try to plan my life, um, it never works out. It always goes the complete opposite direction. Like when I was working in Dallas, the Ritz Carlton Dallas, I kind of stayed there for a year and a half, 2, 3, 4 years, and I loved it there. I was so happy. But I had like a simple, crazy accident, and I destroyed my ankle, so I had to take a break from the industry for 3 months, sit at home, and I ended up back here in Florida working at the Ritz Carlton Naples, which had been a life goal of mine. But I've kind of stopped planning my life just because never works out. But let's see, I would maybe like to. I want to travel more. Like I love what I do, but I think I need to travel more to see other works, like other chefs' works. I want to go to Europe. I want to check out like a real authentic French patisserie. But like no crazy goals. Like I'm not a huge fan of the idea of opening my own bakery yet. Not in these days. I still don't feel ready to do that yet. I would like to be, where I am now, the executive pastry chef of a club or a hotel. I've made it here. So it's like life goals that I'm slowly achieving, and I'm slowly looking at new life goals. Yeah, I'm slowly making it. Just day by day, year by year.
What about more schooling, more professional development? Anything on those lines?
Oh, for sure. Taking more continuing educational classes, like master classes. I look at a couple classes that, like, let's say Valrhona will post, and it's how to build intricate entremets or chocolate work, or like let's perfect your plate of desserts, or let's do master wedding cake classes, or even some classes from Antonio Bashore. Checking out croissants and laminated doughs, everything. So I like to say yes to as many continuing educational opportunities as possible, because once you're a chef, you're always a student. Just because you have reached the highest stage does not mean you stop learning and you start teaching, because things are trends, come and go, and you have to be on top of those trends.
So true. So as we come to the end of our chat today, before we wrap up, is there any last-minute advice or guidance you want to leave with the listeners, something you want to share?
Don't be afraid to fail. Like, I keep telling myself this every day. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try new recipes. Don't be afraid to say yes to any opportunity that comes your way, because, again, you don't know what you're capable of doing until you try it. You don't know how much you would suck at chocolate sculptures. You don't know how much you could burn something until you try it, but you also don't know how great you can be. And you'll never know how great you can be unless you try it.
Awesome. Good advice. So if someone wanted to follow your journey, get in touch with you, reach out, maybe wants some advice or has some questions for you, how could they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is pastry_panache. I put a lot of my personal life goals, personal journey, and a lot of my my creations on there. But if you also want to see me compete, you can find me on Food Network's Chopped Sweets. I'm on season 2, episode 7. It's titled Dangerous Decadence. So you can see me, you can watch me bake with deadly ingredients, including tarantulas. Yes, I actually had to touch and work with tarantulas. So you can see my crazy facial reactions to all that. And you don't get to see me throw up, thankfully, but that's another platform you can watch me on and check it out.
Great. And what was the Instagram again? Because I'll put that in the show notes for anyone who's listening and wants to reach out.
Pastry_panache.
Great.
So pastry and then underscore, then PANACHE.
Awesome.
Like ganache,
yep.
But panache.
Panache. Well, that is just about all the time we have for this episode. I want to first thank you, Emilia, for coming on the show today and sharing your culinary school story with all of us. We really appreciate your time, your insight, and your honesty.
No, thank you so much. It's been such an honor, such a pleasure to be able to tell a bit more about my life. And it's been humbling to recollect everything that I've gone through. But I'm so happy to be able to tell you all this today.
Yeah, well, thanks again for that walk down memory lane, and I really enjoyed our chat. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
And a big thanks and appreciation also goes out to all of you, the listeners. We hope you enjoy the show and this episode. You all are a big part of this show, so please let us know what you think. Your comments are always welcome, and they help us in making the best show possible. You can email them to culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. That's culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. Or even leave us a voicemail at area code 207-835-1275. That's area code 207-835-1275. And if you like the show, we have a big ask of all of you, and that is to share the podcast with everyone you know and to give us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, until our next Culinary School Story, take care and be well. Bye-bye. Culinary School Stories is a proud member of the Food Media Network.